Federal government warns civil servants on involvement in partisan politics. Plus, UN to resume rescue efforts at besieged Ukraine steel plant. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin the news tonight with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated that no one has the right to carry an AK-47. The president gave a warning in Abakaliki, insisted that anyone seen in any part of the country carrying an AK-47, excluding law enforcement officers, is considered a threat to the peaceful coexistence of Nigerians. He said this while pledging that the federal government would deploy its strength to protect Nigerians from terrorists and those causing breakdown of law and order in the southeast region. This comes days after the recent murder of an army couple by bandits allegedly sympathetic to the agitations of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Speaking at a meeting with southeast leaders during his two-day state visit to Ebonyi, the president expressed concern over the deteriorating security situation in the region. He again issued a directive to security agencies to flush out those perpetrating violence in the land. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has told Southeast leaders that the fate of pro-separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu will be decided by the courts. He stated this during a meeting with leaders from the region at the new government house at Abakaliki. The president was reacting to a demand by the leaders for him to grant amnesty to Kanu and other youths from the region in detention across the country. The leaders said they were in dialogue with dissident groups in the region with a view to bringing them to a roundtable discussion for the return of peace. Meanwhile, Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yerima Osibanjo, has said that Nigerian military is repositioning to stop insecurity in various parts of the country. Osibanjo, who was in Anambra to meet with delegates of the All Progressives Congress APC in furtherance of his presidential bid, said the federal government was working hard and has also drafted the military to several parts of the country to fight insecurity. He, however, stated that because the military was not trained for civil unrest, that it was working hard to adapt in order to play the new role and curtail cases of insecurity. The vice president added that the military has also been stretched to its very limit by the many cases of killings in the country. Away from that, federal government has urged workers in the civil service to be guided by the provisions of the public service rules as it relates to their participation in partisan politics. In a memo signed by the head of the civil service and of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi-san, the federal government said the legal opinion of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice on the matter is clear enough. The memo addressed to the Chief of Staff, to the President, Deputy Chief of Staff, to the Vice President, all Ministers and Ministers of State, Federal Permanent Secretaries, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Elsewhere, the federal government has approved the 2022 intervention funds for public higher institutions across the country. Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, Sunday Echona, made this known while receiving the Committee of Vice Chancellors and of Nigerian universities in his office. Echona said the meeting of all beneficiary institutions will be held by next week Monday to interact further on the proposed reforms that have been approved for implementation. He assured the Vice Chancellors of the Fund's commitment to sustaining the ongoing reforms in the sector with increased emphasis on the content of its interventions, particularly in the areas of research, ICT, and in the areas of encouraging a reading culture in the society through publication of books. Yerima also lamented the amount of resources being spent in sending children abroad for studies, urging universities, especially private ones, to create a niche and compete with foreign universities that are attracting out students in order to save cost. In another development, the federal government, through the Nigeria Railway Corporation, has announced that it has reconnected the Abuja-Kaduna train service line that was bombed by terrorists on March 28, 2022 in Kaduna. It made this public just as domestic airlines raised an alarm over the hike in aviation fuel and its impact on airfares. A statement issued by the NRC and made available to newsmen stated that major track work on the rail line had been completed, adding that services would soon resume on the line. Meanwhile, federal government says the African Continental Free Trade Area AFCFTA will be a game changer. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yerima said the AFCFTA will be the largest free trade area in the world and make doing business easier for countries with seamless access to 54 markets. In the meantime, United Kingdom is set to begin issuance of a new visa that allows holders of first degrees, masters, and doctorates to travel to the country and work in fields such as science, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship by May 30. The visa, High Potential Individual Visa, allows applicants to relocate to the UK without a prior job offer or sponsorship. Meanwhile, some of the requirements exempted those who graduated from Nigerian universities. The UK government had said that in order to qualify for the HPI visa, applicants needed to have been awarded a degree from an overseas university, that the university has to be one of the top global universities as published in the Global Universities list by the Home Office. The government noted that the list would be compiled annually and would comprise institutions included in the list of the top 50 universities in at least 2 of the following ranking systems: Times Higher Education World University Rankings, Quarterly Simmons World University Rankings, and the Academic Ranking of the World Universities. Away from that, National Crime Agency in the United Kingdom has recovered $23,439,724 loot. The money is believed to have been siphoned out of Nigeria in the 1990s by the associates and family of former head of state General Sani Abacha. According to a communique issued by the agency, the funds formed part of a larger pool of monies identified by the United States Department of Justice as having been misappropriated by Abacha and his allies. The agency said the funds had now been transferred to the Home Office for onward transmission to the U.S. Justice Department. It also pursued nearly 7 years of protracted litigation and international negotiation to obtain the recovery order to enforce the U.S. forfeiture order relating to the recovered monies. To politics now, where Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has picked the All Progressives Congress 100 million naira presidential nomination and expression of interest form. He reportedly picked up the form today in the Federal Capital Territory. In February, while reacting to the controversy around his interest in the much coveted seat, Emefiele had reportedly said he would leave his fate firmly in the hands of God. According to Section 9 of the CBN Act 2007, the Apex Bank governor must not venture into any other vocation while in office and must resign in writing to the president if he nursed such intention. Recall that the 60-year-old Emefiele was appointed CBN governor in 2014 and has since remained at the Apex Bank. Away from that, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said Nigeria has a vibrant pluralistic and free press, which would not have been possible without an enabling environment. He said, under the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, the media will never be seen as a threat, but as key partners in the progress of the country. Mohammed, during the UNESCO World Report on Freedom of Expression 2021-2022 at the Regional Forum for West Africa, said they will further provide leaders, media administrators, practitioners and various stakeholders in the information sector insights into the successes achieved and the multidimensional challenges to freedom of expression and media development. The minister also urged media houses to set up a fact-checking desk to arrest the spread of misinformation and fake news. Still in politics, former governor of Zamfara State, Senator Sani Yerima, has declared to run for the 2023 presidential election under the platform of the ruling All Progressives Congress. The former senator, who represented Zamfara West at the National Assembly, was spotted at the presidential Villa Abuja today, where he came to inform President Muhammadu Buhari about his intentions. He said when elected president, he would focus on fighting insecurity, poverty alleviation, and ignorance of the mind, which he said many Nigerians are living with unknowingly. Away from that, a presidential aspirant, Oke Uzoho, has sued the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for allegedly denying him the opportunity to contest in the May 28 presidential primary. According to reports, the party had fixed its expression of interest and nomination forms at 40 million naira for aspirants vying for the office of the president. The lawyer, in an originating summons marked AFCT CV 144/2022 and filed at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), sued the PDP and the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as first and second defendants, respectively. Meanwhile, Minister of Niger Delta Affairs and presidential aspirant Godswill Akpabio has declared that Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act as amended, which states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election, however, does not exist. Akpabio noted that the section was non-existent as a court in Abia had rendered it unconstitutional. To judicial matters now, where the Supreme Court has dismissed the 3 appeals filed by members of the All Progressives Congress (APC) in Kano, loyal to the Senator Ibrahim Shekarau-led faction of the party in the state. In a unanimous judgment today, a 5-member panel of the Supreme Court held that the appeals by the members of the faction, otherwise referred to as the G7, were without merit. Reports say the judgment delivered in the appeal filed by Motlaka Bala Suleiman and others was applied to the other 2 similar appeals. Still on judicial matters, an Abeokuta Magistrate Court has remanded 2 men in a correctional center for allegedly being in possession of a human head, exhuming and cutting off head of a 6-year-old boy. The defendants, Lukuman Kusimo, 55, and Oluwaseyi Olojede, 59, were arraigned on a 2-count charge of unlawful possession of human head, exhuming and cutting off head of a 6-year boy. The magistrates, Olajumoke Somafun, who did not take the plea of the defendants, deferred their bail and ordered that they be remanded at the Oba Correctional Center. Elsewhere, the Supreme Court has partly resolved the ownership dispute in 17 oil wells ownership in favor of the Rivers State government. In a judgment prepared by Justice Ellen Ogunwumiju but delivered by Justice Emmanuel Ajim, the Apex Court dismissed the counterclaim ownership put forward by the Imo State government. According to Justice Agim, reliefs 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 sought by the Rivers State government were granted by the court. The court also agreed that the correct instrument, maps, and documents relied on determining the boundary were those used by the Rivers State government in delineating the boundary line between both states. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says fresh registration in the ongoing nationwide continuous voter registration (CVR) has hit 8,855,996 on May 2. The Commission, in its weekly update released for Quarter 4, Week 3 in Abuja, said that 5,415,619 had completed their registration. According to a report, those who completed their registration include persons with disabilities and youths. Also, INEC has received applications for voter transfer requests for replacement of permanent voter cards and changes to voter information records. Away from that, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) has given electricity distribution companies approval to increase their tariff rates. Reports say the new approval took effect from January 1st and was implemented since February 2022. In a document made available to newsmen, NEC noted that the increase were based on the increased performance improvement plans of the discos and indices such as gas price, inflation, exchange rate, U.S. inflation rate, and available generation capacity. It added that these indices shall be reviewed in every 6 months to update the tariffs with changes in the indices as applicable in line with the MITO. In education, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities (SANU) and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities (NASU) have resumed negotiations with the federal government towards finding a solution to the lingering strike. At resumption of talks between the Joint Action Committee of the unions and the government, NASU's General Secretary Peter Adeyemi said the meeting initiated by the Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige appeared to be yielding some desired results. Speaking at the resumption of talks between the Joint Action Committee (JAC) of the unions and the federal government (NASU), General Secretary Peter Adeyemi, who thanked Ngige for his efforts, added that the new permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, Peter Adejo, was at the latest reconciliation meeting. Still on education, no fewer than 1.7 million candidates are set to take part in the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) nationwide, scheduled to run from May 6 to May 16. The head media, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, who said that the board had put in place all measures to ensure the smooth conduct of the examination, added that all candidates would be checked into the examination hall using the biometric verification machine (BVM), which is also a register of attendance in line with the board's policy. He further stated that the ban on prohibited items like flash drives, smart watches, calculators, recorders, mobile phones, spy reading glasses, jewelry, among others, were still in force, hence calling on candidates to be careful not to run foul of the law, as necessary sanctions would be meted out to violators of JAMB's Code of Conduct. Away from that, Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has said that gunmen and those armed with sophisticated weapons terrorizing the people are not agitators but criminals who have seen crime as a lucrative business. In an interactive session with landlords in Onitsha, Soludo, who expressed deep concern that despite the extension of invitation by the state government to the gunmen to come out of their hiding and embrace dialogue, the criminals continued in their activities of killing, kidnapping and destruction because they saw criminality as a lucrative business, adding that the landlords and other critical stakeholders in the state had failed to expose them. He noted that the major programs of his administration at present included cleaning up of the state, security of lives and property, and provision of critical infrastructure like roads. Back here, a public health practitioner, Professor Ukeme Ayo, has identified exercise as the greatest exponent of public health. He, however, emphasizes the importance of proper nutrition for fitness and overall well-being. A correspondent completes the report.
Is any bodily activity that enhances or maintains physical fitness and overall health and wellness. Moderate intensive aerobic activities like walking, cycling, or swimming gets your heart beating faster, while other vigorous intensive activities like running or participating in any strenuous activities does not only improve muscle strength but also helps to stabilize body calories and weight. Staying fit through exercise offers incredible benefits that can improve nearly every aspect of your health, from reducing the risk of chronic diseases to improving the skin's appearance, as well as the production of hormones that clears the mind and helps you sleep better. However, Dr. Ukeme Eyo emphasizes the need for proper nutrition for fitness.
Exercise is the greatest exponent of public health. You must burn down cholesterol. You must break down the stress. But get a good wholesome meal from the farm, like grandma used to give us, cook. All this fry, overly processed, they inject this chicken, inject this pig, inject this cow into the animal to hasten them to the market to make a quick box.
Staying fit has been shown to have many health benefits, both physically and mentally. It may even help you live longer. Edidion Martin, reporting for Spectrum Television.
Still in Akwa Ibom, residents in some parts of Uyo, Akwa Ibom state capital, have decried the poor power supply in their area and the high tariff they pay, which they say had not been complementary with the services they received. Speaking with Spectrum Television, some residents in Afagobe, while acknowledging that they had constant power supply in their areas, lamented the high tariff and pleaded government's intervention to work out policies to reduce the cost to help businesses survive in a period of high petroleum prices. Other residents said they were paying monthly bills only to have few days of power supply, noting that the cost of maintaining businesses have been adversely affected by the cost of fueling their generating sets daily.
Except there's a little fault, maybe somewhere, maybe in the office or maybe around. So you see an old man or old woman paying bills for something he's not benefited for. So I appeal government should look. So there are some areas that, lack of electricity. There are some areas that do lack such thing.
I run generator since morning till evening. Sometimes they will bring light. It will stay up to an hour and they will take it back. And you will still run gen throughout, plus the high cost of fuel now. Some days like last week, we stayed for 4 days, 3 days, not even a flash. But a week they brought bill. There was power supply that 2-3 days. After collecting the bills, I think we have not been seeing it much these days. I would have loved NEPA to do what government told them to do, to supply every citizen with a prepaid meter, not the one they sit down at home and quote. Because most of us, we are using there is no prepaid meter, so they just come give you bill, get the money and go.
And when the energy is too high, it's too cost, people will run away from the business and they will not be able to work. The business will collapse. So I'm appealing for government to do something. Tell our senator to reduce the tally.
For here we have constant light, except.
Still to come in the news. Binance, Saudi Arabia, 17 others fund Twitter takeover. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. In Africa, the announcement that South Sudan's crude oil has been sold in advance to pay for salary arrears has come in for criticism. Finance Minister Agak Achul said output up until 2027 had been sold in order to pay the salaries of civil servants who have not been paid since around September 2021. But a prominent economist, Dr. Yanga, has hit at the government, saying it has failed to manage the economy properly. He said it was akin to pronouncing the country economically dead. Dr. Yanga said the government should not just rely on oil revenues, recommending it look to minerals and the tourism sector to raise money. Still in Africa, a Sudanese protester was killed when an armored vehicle ran him over during rally against the country's military rallies. The 23-year-old activist was hit by a vehicle belonging to the coup forces during rallies in Khartoum as it was heading towards the presidential palace. Reports say Sudanese people have continued to demonstrate since the coup in October last year, with dozens of civilians killed in the crackdown by the security forces. Meanwhile, a Muslim cleric has asked a Kenyan court not to release him from prison. Despite being acquitted of terrorism charges, Sheikh Guyo Goza Buru was arrested in January 2018 in northern Kenya and charged with possessing material promoting a terrorist group and for collaborating with Al-Shabaab militant group. But the court released him, saying the state had failed to prove their case. He, however, refused to leave the notorious committee prison, saying he feared for his life. The cleric alleged that he could be abducted and killed by the state once he is free. Meanwhile, the chief magistrate has ordered that he could stay at the prison for a period not exceeding 30 days, after which he would be set free. Elsewhere, Belgium's King Felipe and Queen Mathilde will make an official visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo in June. According to a statement from presidential aide Guilaine Nyambo, the visit will take place from Tuesday 7 to Monday 13 June. Reports say the royals will be accompanied by Belgian government ministers, adding that they will visit the capital Kinshasa, Lubumbashi and Bukavu. Recall that the trip was initially scheduled for March 2022, but was cancelled because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Away from that, the 1 year of being placed under a state of siege, residents of Ituri and North Kivu in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo have said the move has not yielded the envisaged results. The move was to secure and put an end to the armed groups that have been sowing terror in the region for more than 25 years. Reports say the Congolese army, Ugandan forces and the UN's largest peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, have all been playing their part in a big push against the region's armed groups. Meanwhile, 1 year from the introduction of the security regime, which gave full powers to the military, the population and civil society of North Kivu and Ituri are still waiting for the results. In the meantime, DR Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi will host King Felipe of Belgium in June. This is the first visit by the Belgian king to the former colony since the start of his reign in 2013. Reports say the last time a Belgian king visited the country was in 2010 when President Joseph Kabila hosted King Albert II to mark the 50th anniversary of independence. Meanwhile, to mark 60 years of the independence of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the city of Ghent in Belgium is organizing an official ceremony where the statue of the former King Leopold II will be removed from public display. On the foreign scene, Ukraine says a fresh UN-led rescue mission was underway Friday to evacuate the last civilians still trapped inside a besieged jail in Mariupol that has become the southern city's final holdout against Russian forces. About 200 civilians, including children, are estimated to remain in hiding in the Soviet-era tunnels and bunkers beneath the sprawling Azovstal factory, along with hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said his army was ready to provide safe passage to the civilians as part of a Moscow-announced three-day truce at the plant. But Ukraine's army denied there had been a pause in fighting at Azovstal, saying Russia was continuing attacks by ground and by air. Still on the foreign scene, a third operation to pull civilians from Mariupol is due today. This comes as the UN has said more fighting is ongoing over control of the steelworks where the last Ukrainian defenders are holding out. Reports say although Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has already declared victory in Mariupol and ordered his forces to seal off the sprawling industrial site, Russia's Vladimir Putin has said his forces are ready to give civilians safe passage, adding that fighters must surrender. Meanwhile, about 200 civilians are believed to be hiding in bunkers in the plant, and the UN chief Antonio Guterres has said everything should be done to get people out of the area. Still on the foreign scene, German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht has said Germany will send Ukraine 7 self-propelled howitzers on top of 5 artillery systems. The heavy artillery systems being sent to Ukraine have been described by the German military as being among the most modern artillery in the world. Recall that German government has come under pressure from European allies for being slow off the mark in providing Ukraine with weapons before the country announced its first delivery last month. Reports say most of the heavy weapons NATO countries have sent to Ukraine so far are Soviet-built arms, adding that US and some other allies have started to supply Kyiv with Western howitzers. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blyden. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you, Xavier Robert. It is another business day. My name is Blyden Ukem. In the news, we'll begin with details of Twitter deal. Cryptocurrency billionaire Changpeng Zhou has joined the list of investors taking a stake in Twitter after Elon Musk took the company private, as the Tesla boss raised $7.1 billion. According to the stock market filing on Thursday, Musk raised the capital from about 19 investors, including crypto exchange Binance, which is owned by Zhou. Binance invested $500 million in the fundraising round, while the largest contributor was Saudi Arabia's Prince Al Walid bin Talal Investments, with $1.9 billion stake through Kingdom Holding Company. Musk's Twitter takeover will cost him about $43 billion. Although the board has accepted his offer, the deal hasn't been finalized yet. Let's look at the world's food prices. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, Food Price Index has eased by 0.8% month over month to 158.5 points in April of 2022, but remains close to a round record high of 159.7 points in March. Prices of vegetable oil declined significantly globally at 5.7% after hitting an all-time high in March, being pressured by palm, sunflower, and soy oil. Also, prices of cereals were down slightly at 0.4% after hitting record highs still in March. It was weighed down by corn and sorghum, although gains in barley and wheat reduced losses amid exportation blockades in Ukraine and crop concerns in the US. Meanwhile, milk prices rose for an 8th straight month at 0.9% due to sluggish production in Western Europe and Oceania and surging demand for butter amid shortages of sunflower oil and margarine in Western Europe. Lastly, prices rose firmly for meats at 2.2% due to tight supplies in the Northern Hemisphere and disruption in Ukraine, and for sugar, 3.3%, being affected by ethanol production. In Africa, Tunisia's inflation rate rises to 3.5-year high. The annual inflation rate in Tunisia accelerated for the 7th straight month to 7.5% in April of 2022 from 7.2% in March. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given period of time. This was the highest reading since October of 2018. The main upward pressure came from the prices of alcoholic beverages and tobacco, which was at 24.2% against 21% in March. Transport, 6.7% against 5%. Clothing and footwear, 10.1% against 9.8%. Furniture, household items, and routine household maintenance at 7.4% against 6.1%. On a monthly basis, consumer prices were up 1.4%, accelerating from a 0.8% rise in the previous month. And back home in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, continues to withdraw from Nigeria's external reserves to intervene in the forex market, according to reports. From the data on CBN websites, the reserve stood at $39.42 billion on Wednesday, that was May 4th, 2022, compared to the $39.81 billion documented on April 21st. This indicates a drop in 2 weeks by $384 million. This follows the announcement from the federal government that the balance in the excess crude account as of April 27th had dropped low to $35.372 million. The excess crude accounts, ECA, is a savings account retained by the federal government and is funded by the difference between the market price of crude oil and the budgeted price of crude oil as contained in the appropriation bill. According to the Special Assistant to the President on Digital and New Media, Tolu Ogunlesi, he tweeted, noting that the ECA was once $20 billion in 2009 before depleting to $2 billion in 2015. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. The bulls closed the trading week. At the end of the last trading day of the week, on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 466.28 million shares in 7,442 deals corresponding to a market value of 5.308 billion naira were traded. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 27.5 trillion naira and is still moving. Regarding the performance of market indices, the benchmark All-Share Index edged up 101.06 basis points, a 0.2% increase to close at 50,937.01 points, which represents a one-week gain of 4.87%. Well, compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 36% decline in turnover, but 9% improvement in deals. 118 equities participated in today's trading, ending with 43 gainers and 15 losers. Caviton Offshore Support Group led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 1.32 naira per share, followed by Champs Breweries at 9.87%. While Living Trust Mortgage Bank came at last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.68% at 1.12 naira per share. Living Trust Mortgage Bank recorded the highest volume of 88.6 million traded shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria with 40 million traded shares, and Fidelity Bank 30.4 million traded shares. This is all on Business News Today. Do stay with Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. Djokovic downs Hawkeyes, secures Madrid semi-final spot. Do stay with us. Hey, thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, Nigeria Center for Disease Control has said 22 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory have reported 751 confirmed cases of Lassa fever in 2022. This number, according to the center, is apart from the 272 suspected cases reported so far in the country. The center also noted that 140 deaths have been reported so far, adding that Nigeria has continued to witness an increase in the number of Lassa fever cases amidst a decline in COVID-19 cases. NCDC therefore appealed to health workers to maintain a high index of suspicion for the disease, be vigilant and look out for symptoms of Lassa fever, stressing that not all fevers are malaria. Still in health, the World Health Organization has said the COVID-19 pandemic killed 13.3 to 16.6 million people in 2020 and 2021. The World Health Organization's long-awaited estimate of the total number of deaths caused by the pandemic, including lives lost to its knock-on effects, finally puts a number on the broader impact of the crisis. Reports say the figures give a more realistic picture of the worst pandemic in a century. The figures termed as excess mortality were calculated as the difference between the number of deaths that occurred and the number that would have been expected in the absence of the pandemic based on data from earlier years. It is over now to Bright James for trending sports stories.
Thank you, Sylvia Robert. Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk. I am Bright James. We begin from tennis, where Novak Djokovic maintained the quest for his first title of the season, cruising past Paul Robert Hook's 6-3, 6-4 to reach his 7th Madrid Open semi-final earlier today. The world number one struck the ball with relentless depth, accuracy and power. He controlled points with his watertight ground stroke to advance after 78 minutes and improve his perfect ATP head-to-head series record against Hukas 2-4 games to nothing. The top seed will face world number 3 Rafa Nadal or next-gen ATP Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz in what will be his 72nd ATP Masters 1000 semi-final. Now to boxing, where Tyson Fury maintained he's very much retired from boxing after the WBC confirmed it would be communicating with the world heavyweight champion about his future in the sports. Fury has frequently stated that his 6th-round knockout of Dillian Whyte in front of 94,000 fans at the Wembley Stadium last month, which saw him retain the WBC title and extend his unbeaten record to 33 fights, would be the final bout of his professional career. The 33-year-old insisted that once again in a tweet posted on Friday morning, saying, "I'm very happy and content to be retired. It's been a long time coming and I'm enjoying my retirement." Now to football, where Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta signed a new contract until 2025, while the women's team boss Jonas Edival will stay until the end of the 2023-2024 campaign. Arteta, appointed in 2019, has led Arsenal into with four games remaining as the bid to secure a Champions League place for the first time since 2017. Arteta won his first piece of silverware in 2020 as Arsenal beat Chelsea 2-1 in the FA Cup final before clinching the FA Community Shield victory on penalties over Liverpool. Edival also signed the new deal after an impressive season in London, his first in which he has taken the Women's Super League title challenge all the way to the final weekend. Finally, Roman Abramovich has denied he wants his £1.5 billion loan to Chelsea repaid and is committed to giving proceeds from the sale of the club to a charity. The club was put up for sale by Abramovich in March, just before he was sanctioned by the UK government for his links to Russian President Vladimir Putin following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Abramovich said he would not be asking for his loans to Chelsea to be repaid. That proceeds from the sale of the club would go to a charitable foundation for the victims of the war in Ukraine. And that's all from the sports desk this evening. I am Bright James. Over now to Peter Bryan for entertainment news.
Thanks, Bright James. Hello and welcome to the Entertainment Desk. I am Beto Bryan. First in our bulletin this evening, controversial YouTuber Kevin Samuels dies at 57. News about the self-proclaimed relationship guru's death started circulating on social media yesterday, May 5. Samuel, who was known for his contentious takes on dating by way of his YouTube channel, also operated under the title of an image consultant. He most recently set the internet ablaze after his comments about single women who are 35 years old and over, who he considers leftover women. Always ready to speak his mind about hot topics surrounding relationships, Samuel was also divorced twice and had critics and supporters who expressed their opinions about his ideologies. In February, Rapid Future sat down with Samuels with a teaser trailer of his single, Worst Days. His mother, Beverly Samuels Branch, confirmed his death to NBC News, but declined to release details about what happened. She said she learned of her son's death from social media. Earlier, a close friend of the self-proclaimed guru Samuels, Melanin King, revealed she had received family confirmation that the modern women creator had passed away, with unverified reports shared on social media claiming the YouTuber died after suffering a cardiac arrest. In our next story this evening, Rihanna and boyfriend A$AP Rocky reportedly not engaged despite fan speculation about music video proposal and wedding. Rumors of a secret engagement were fueled on Thursday after the release of Rocky's DMB video, in which he and Rihanna flaunted their romance with tons of wedding imagery. According to a press release, the video showed the couple as a true ride-or-die character in a devoted relationship despite circumstances. In one shot, Rocky is seen donning gold grills embezzled with questions, "Married me?" and the camera cuts to Rihanna, who is smiling from ear to ear, showing off her own grills with the face saying, "I do." Fans immediately concluded that the couple, which are expecting their first child together later this year, had already gotten engaged or perhaps secretly got married. However, a source tells TMZ that the visuals were simply for fun and the two are not in fact engaged. Complex has also reached out to Rocky and Rihanna, respective camps, for comments. The couple confirmed their relationship back in 2020 after Rihanna had announced her split from Hassan Jamil. Now in January of this year, the anti-singer shared a series of baby bump photos and they're expecting their child together. She did say having a baby is something she has never focused on, but being with Rocky opened her up to the idea. And finally, back here on the entertainment scene, veteran actor Chiwetel reveals how he survived a spiritual attack. In a video that has since gone viral, the movie veteran is showing different items that were removed from his body. Among the items removed from his body include sea stones, bullets, pins, and a key. He said the items were removed from his chest area, neck and heart, and shoulder regions. It will be recalled that back in 2020, the movie veteran played down the rumors of his ill health as he came on social media saying all those who were trying to get money for his treatment should stop doing so as he was in good health. Chiwetel is a Nigerian actor who won the 2012 Nollywood Award for Best Actor in an Indigenous Movie. His popularity on the acting screens has grown following his usage of specific language slangs, phrases, and cliches in many films that have made him unique and a household name in Nigeria and among Nollywood fans in general. And that's our package from the entertainment desk this evening. I am Peter Bryan, thanking you for watching and wishing you a happy weekend. Now over to Xavier Roberts.
To a YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Do have a terrific night rest.